Underway for Group A of qualifying for round 5 of the FIA Formula 2 Championship in 2025. Welcome to the Principality of Monte Carlo. FIA Formula 2 have been coming here ever since the F3000 days. It's a regular stay on the calendar. Sprint race at 30 laps, feature race at 42. Here we set the grid ready for that first race with the reverse of the top 10. Going to be an interesting weekend ahead of us then as well, with this split qualifying format. 11 cars go out first, then another 11 in the second session, designed after the miserable run we had here back in 2011, which was caused by GP2. Alongside me in the commentary box is Nathan Richards. Richie, welcome to you. Principality of Monaco is always a favourite, and now it's time for qualifying for F2, which is always entertaining.
Yeah, certainly. Good afternoon, Josh. Good afternoon to everybody in the chat. Can't wait to get underway with this session. Of course, Formula 2 at Monaco is always spectacular to watch, always a little bit interesting. You never quite know what's going to happen, and sometimes with a track like this, you get to see some drivers near the front that are never at the front because they might throw a little bit more risk in compared to others. So yeah, going to be very exciting with that two-part session.
And the first half is underway, and the cars venture out onto the circuit. Remind us, it's going to be a different weekend than what we expected to. So it's actually going to be first out Roman Stanek, John Bennett, Sammy Megatuniv, Joshua Durskin, Emil Cordial, Victor Martins, Kush Miney, Gabriel Mini, Arvid Lindblad, Richard Rashaw and Dino Boganovic. That's your running order for this first half of the session. Both sessions get 16 minutes to head out there, so it's a complete one-off. Technically, this is qualifying A, and then we have qualifying B coming up afterwards. And it's good that they get 16 minutes because it's not a lot of time, but they have got to warm their tyres up. So we're thinking 2 runs only in terms of fast laps, which is not that lot around here.
No, definitely not. Especially a track that you kind of normally have to build yourself into, especially in Formula 1 and, you know, in the 3 practices they have a lot of time to build themselves in, become a little bit more comfortable with the track and the conditions. But in Formula 2, they have a lot less. They have a practice session and a 15-minute qualifying session, and as we just hear from Victor Martin.
To get to the limit with the car, around the circuit, get close to the walls. For sure it has an historic behind it, but definitely the track itself also is really enjoyable when you are at the limit in qualifying, and actually also in races, because it can be quite tricky with strategy, trying to manage every situation.
Yeah, fair point around this circuit actually as well, as trying to manage the actual way it runs around, because one small mistake and you're off into the barriers. And they're very much on a build-up lap time now. It's 3:12 over there in Monaco. Let's hear from Roman Stanek.
Arvid Lindblad could beat that.
Monaco, sun shining, new set of options, and the track's clear in front of you. Enjoy it, mate.
Wow.
Copy, mate.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it, always to hear the compliments between the drivers, and that's what it is. This is the fastest they'll run all weekend long in this qualifying session, so it's really their only chance to experience Monaco flat out. You've done a number of laps on the simulators across both Williams Esports and PSGs. It's a tricky track to get right, because every year there's a new bump, there's a new surface, there's a new barrier change. It's constantly evolving.
Yeah, of course, and like you said with the bumps, because this is the normal road surface, especially when you're heading down some of the hills, there is bumps that, well, we all know they're there, but you'd rather them not be, because you've got to avoid them, and especially when you're on a qualifying run, you've got cars on and off the racing line, you've got to navigate around the bumps, and just hope you can run to the end of the lap safely and get a good lap on the board. It is a difficult one, so it's something that the drivers, especially in Formula 2 and Formula 3, we'll probably find a lot more difficult. So if we see some bigger gaps here, I'm not going to be surprised, because along with having that skill and that ability to put in quick laps, around here, a lot of it is about the mind game. How much are you willing to push? Because you know around here, if you push hard, compared to any other track on the calendar, maybe Bar Jeddah, you're going to hit a barrier, and that's your qualifying done here. If you hit a barrier, you're done.
And the red flags do come out here are plenty. Track limits, not really a factor here, but there was a few points to highlight, mainly down at the Nouvelle chicane and at the swimming pool chicane. There's only two that you can really lose your lap time with. But another factor has been our ride on board with the ARTs coming through with Victor Martins. The only thing another thing we got to factor in here, traffic, and that's why they've split the sessions up, because GP2 back in the day couldn't manage the traffic well. So now we've got this half and half situation, but they still manage to find each other and they still impede each other. F3 this morning was a nightmare across the two sessions, so I'm not expecting F2 to be any different.
No, it's difficult, isn't it? Because you've got to try and find the best track position, and if that means you know maybe holding a car up, the drivers aren't going to care. All they want to do is make sure they've got the best track position, and if that means going slower, they'll do it. And of course that does start to back people up into each other. Here we can see on board with Martins, as he does have that fastest first set, there is a car ahead, and hopefully they will either continue on with their lap if they're on a flying run, or move out of the way in case Martins does catch up to them as they head their way through the tunnel and into the Nouvelle chicane, which is a very difficult braking zone to get right. We saw it in practice in Formula 2 and Formula 3, and also in Formula 1. It's very easy to misjudge that braking zone and end up going straight over.
Yeah, downhill, bump on the exits you mentioned, so they've got to avoid it. I think Martin's looking at him, has backed out of his run. He's gone very slowly coming into the back, so I can hear seagulls in the background, which doesn't teleport me to Monaco, very much teleports me to Scarborough or Skegness.
Blackpool.
Yeah, Blackpool. It's like, okay, bang, we're at a UK beach, not in the middle of... That was quite nice, actually. Every time you hear seagulls, it's a bit homely to me as it comes through. But, yeah. So a lot of traffic. There's Gabriel Mini and Kushmini just behind, being held up as they come through. We're on board now with Joshua Durdsky and the AX Racing Squad. Up the hill they come. This is Beau Rivage into Massenet at the top, and they've resurfaced it, but it still feels like you're coming over the crest, and then it's downhill again into Casino Square. Avoid the bump on the right as he goes down towards Mirabeau, and he's already up on Snack's time, but this is very much going to be waiting to get the big lap time in.
Yeah, certainly, of course, just settling in. Of course, he'll probably have one or two maximum runs, I think, here in this session. So if this is a flying lap, he needs to make sure that he gets it right. Just heading now out of Portier, down towards the Nouvelle chicane through the tunnel, and Martin's there. A very nice first sector, I think was over a second quicker than what Dirksen did in sector 1 there, a 22.219. So Victor Martin's running very well. And we've seen in the past, Martin's runs very well in qualifying, but the race, he tends to have a little bit of unluckiness, as we do see there Arvid Lindblad going to the top with the 20, oh never mind, it'll be Rush Shaw to the top with a 24.348.
Much better lap times coming through though behind as we get our first proper runs on. Bogdanovic goes third. Everyone out there on the ultra soft tyres as they come into now Antino's. Joshua Durdsky will be first up, nearly puts into the wall at the exit as they blast past the cameras. Almost need an ultra wide lens here at Monaco. The closer they get, it's a 1:23.242 for Durdsky. He goes top of the board, but Victor Martins very good indeed with the first two sectors, as Richie points out. 38 dead in the middle sector. Over the line he comes then. Cordial goes into second, and it's Victor Martins at the top. 1:21.792. Stunner lap time.
Indeed, and you can see the lap times are coming down. The drivers are putting a little bit more risk into it there. We can see Mini up into P2. Marnie only managing P6 there, around 2 seconds off that top time. But it does show that, of course, some drivers there wasn't on fully pushed laps, such as Lindblad, Bogdanovic, Stanek, who are over 3 seconds off the pace. I think we all know that they're not actually 3 seconds off. They're a lot quicker than that. But at the moment, Martin's put in a nice lap down, a nice banker there of 21.7. But of course, in a session like Monaco in qualifying, no time is safe. So he's definitely going to have to keep pushing harder and harder. And here is Arvid Lindblad. Now, is he entering into the pits, or is he going to continue on? I think, Josh, he might be going for his first push lap of the session.
That's an unusual one to go again. Let's hope he's got those tyres right in the sweet spot. Did he lock up there on the inside? I heard a whistle. There was something from underneath the car. I'm not sure if he locked up.
I think it's when it whooshes past, you hear that sound.
Yeah, you're right, yeah. I thought he locked up. I saw a little bit of underthrow, but no, it's that whooshing sound from the back of the turbo. It's extremely close. This is the loudest we ever hear any Formula car on the entire calendar. It's the closest we get in terms of visuals. Literally, the camera operators are within touching distance of the cars, whereas at other circuits, they're miles and miles. Like Qatar, for instance, it's the polar opposite. We have to have ultra-long lenses because the gravel trap is like about 500 metres away from the actual track. Here,
they're nowhere near.
Yeah, what, here, 2 metres? 1 metre?
I mean, you could probably touch some of the cars if you put your hand through the barrier. I wouldn't advise it though, guys. Don't recommend doing that.
No hand as it comes through. But yeah, look how close they get. It's unbelievable.
It is insane, and a decent lap. But you can see he's lost time in the middle sector. But then again, that is kind of like the meat and gravy of the lap, isn't it? That sector too.
Yeah, it's so slow, and getting the throttle back up as well, trying to control the rear. It's difficult in the middle sector compared to the last sector, the first, which are sort of more open throttle parts of the track. Arvid Lindblad he does go P2 though, with a 122.083. Richard Verschoor third, 122.117. And Joshua Durskin now on the lap, but he's coming through to back, which is at the second sector point now. And yeah, he's down by... Look at Victor Martins, first sector, 21.9. Faster than his own time.
Indeed, absolutely flying at the moment. And it just shows that that first lap by Martins was a really good banker lap. Nobody on their second run can get anywhere near that time of Martins. Let's see what Dirksen can do. Heading into the final corner to the line. Won't be pole, will only be P5 at the moment. And Mini, though, is 14 thousandths down in Sector 2. But we do know that Martins is up in Sector 1 here. So we could have a battle for pole between Martins and Mini. And that's not the first time I've heard that before.
I think Martins has hit traffic on his fast lap, 39.6, compared to Mini's 38.1 middle sector. So I think Martins hit traffic. Gabriel Mini goes third, though, but he hit traffic in the third sector. So again, stringing a clean lap around Monaco is incredibly difficult. This is one of the arguments for a single lap qualifying shootout.
Let's see. Happens here down towards the Nouvelle chicane. Does he get caught up in traffic, or does he maybe hit the barrier? And had to, well, avoid the yellow curb, otherwise that would have not gone well for his floor, and also had to avoid barrier on entry. That could have been a rather scary and qualifying ending moment there for Victor Martins, as we can see there. I think that is Arvid Lindblad heading round to go again in the number 4 Red Bull Junior car. He's currently in P2 here, and let's see, can Lindblad take that pole position away? Of course, Josh, if I'm correct, the fastest time of pole in each sessions is the odd side of the grid, 13579, and then the other side is even, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how it works here for this one. So it's a slight change, but remember, we're on a string here of Martins, Followoni, Crawford, Bogdanovic, 4 different pole sitters from the opening 4 rounds of the year. To add in, we've only had 1 repeat winner of Alexander Dunn this year, and he's won 2 out of the opening 7 races that we've actually had. So it's a very good run. But yeah, pole, the fastest time from either Group A or Group B, that's pole. The second fastest time starts second, and then the rest of the grid, odd and even side, based on their times in the previous sessions. And then we get the full grid later on. It's a bit complicated. Many people say, well, why don't you just combine the times together? But it's designed that way because
it's fair. It's
fair because of the track conditions. So
yeah, definitely,
it's the row of the grid you qualify on.
And those in Group B are going to have a little bit more rubber laid down, as as Lindblad was up by 3/10 in the first, has lost time in the middle, and Verschoor now is up on time in the middle sector here. So that lap definitely is under a bit of scrutiny for Victor Martins, as Lindblad and Verschoor are both looking to take it away. Let's see, what can Arvid Lindblad do? Heading out to the final corner, up to the line. Will it be provisional pole position? Yes, it will, by just under a 10th of a second. Richard Verschoor as well crossing the line, and also takes that provisional pole away with a 21.5.
That's almost 2/10 faster. Where did that lap time come from for Richard Verschoor? 37.9 second sector, 21.5 third sector, 22 first sector. Unbelievable for Richard Verschoor. He's wiped everybody away from that one. Joshua Dunskin now P7. He's 3/10 down. But if he continues on this run, it'll be third on the grid, which is third row which is in the 5th or 6th position, so it's still critical.
It certainly is. Let's see what he can do. Heading out to the final corner, I think he will be around 4 or 5 tenths down. It did look like a slow exit, didn't it, though, Josh?
Yeah, not that bad. And yeah, it's up to 4th. It was just lost a couple more tenths of that slide. And he's locked up now in the front as he tries to go for a double push. That won't work. With 2 minutes to go, he'll have to back off and leave it. Victor Martins, and where the hell did he find that? He's 2.5 tenths of a second faster in that middle sector. He had a poor first sector, but he's going to catch it back now. This is going to be the lap time that we talk about, considering what we saw with Senna many years ago. It's almost that lap time now for Martins over the line, and it's 3.5 tenths of a second faster. What on earth?
Considering he messed up his first sector, I mean, his first sector already was, I think, 3 tenths slower than Lindblad's, and he was slower than that personal best. And also, of course, taking that personal best sector 3, the fastest of the session. Brilliant there by Victor Martins. What about Josh Dirksen heading through in towards Tabak now at the end of that middle sector? Can he try and find some time? No, he's 4 tenths down from pole position. Will bring him up into possibly 3rd place here in Group A, of course, ahead of Lindblad, but certainly not a fight for that top spot. But if the track keeps ramping up like this, Verschoor and Lindblad are also going to keep finding time, and we could have a last lap battle for pole. Let's see who has had an incident, because there's a yellow flag out on circuit, Josh.
And if this doesn't get called as a red flag quite quickly, that could be catastrophic, depending on where it is. It's down at San Devon, and it is one of the high-techs going straight on. It is Dino Boganovic who's able to refire the car and get going, but that is not the best to spoil lap times, as we just see. Lindblad, though, fastest of all, first sector, 21.8. He's 2 tenths faster than Martins.
He's flying.
Oh,
yeah, 21.8 there. He's had a lock-up, though, into the chicane, and that's his lap done, isn't it, Josh?
Yeah.
So, has he got time to go again here?
Oh, with that flat spot, be like driving around with a 50p pence on your front tyre. So, with 45 seconds to go, he can back off and get going again, but I doubt it. He's got Verschoor right behind him as well on a fast lap time. Don't impede him, and this was what happened to Boganovic. Just a massive lock-up, and did well to stop it before going straight down to the church.
That is a giant lock-up, isn't it? And it's like he can't get the lock-up away. He just carries on dragging and dragging and dragging, and well, that's going to be his session over. Here's Gabriele Mini, I think, or is it? Yeah, it is, into the swimming pool chicane, and I think a light tap to the barrier. But then again, it seems like the cars and the tyres have been a little bit more robust recently, as that's the lock-up there from Arvid Lindblad, and just pushing that extra little bit, and that's what we like, isn't it, Josh? From some of these newer drivers who will throw a bit more risk in, especially those who are fighting for a pole spot. The checkered flag has now gone out, so no one else can start another lap, and Gabriele Mini has got a personal best in Sector 1, and Joshua Dirksen will not continue, so he will be 4th at best here.
He's coming to the pit lane. Lindblad's first sector,
again
21.7, so Arvid Lindblad is not actually backing out of this one. If that timing tower is to be believed, it's a new personal best. Victor Martins having to improve as well. Gabriele Mini looking strong. I'm trying to see where Lindblad is in the middle sector. He hasn't shown up yet. It's not that long of a track to see if he can actually do it. Oh my word, Gabriele Mini. 38.1, yeah, Lindblad's on a flyer. Lindblad is on an absolute flyer right now.
And Martins can't match it. He's lost time in the middle sector, so he'll be done here in terms of his qualifying. What can Gabriele Mini do? Currently sits in P7. Cordil up to P8. Mini to the line, goes up to P3. A brilliant lap there and a recovery by Mini. Mini goes up into P4, but the one to watch shortly, Josh, will be Arvid Lindblad heading into the final sector now.
He's over the line. Is it Charming's third? He lost 3 tenths, but Stunner to put in third, 5th or 6th on the grid, depending on where it runs out. That was better for Arvid Lindblad than but he could have been pole. He could have been pole that previous run, and he'll know that. But Victor Martins, by 3 tenths of a second, is on provisional pole position, and now he'll turn to Group B and beat that.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's a good lap, but I think that's going to struggle to take pole, because I think there was a lot of I think both Verschoor, Lindblad, Mini and Dirksen at points on their laps were quicker than that 21.1. And going into the next sessions, we hear from Martins. Very happy with that one. And of course, heading into the next session, there's a little bit more rubber on the circuit. A few of the teams have now kind of possibly learned what corners are key, and you know, where's the best place to gain time. As here we can see, Megatunif into the Nouveau chicane, locks up and narrowly avoids the barriers. But no, as I was saying, I think they'll find a bit more time. There's a bit more rubber, so it's going to be difficult for him to keep that pole position, I think.
That's one way to go around the chicane. That's quite fancy, actually, for Megatunif. Slides the rear out on the entry to the Nouveau chicane. And this is Victor Martins close up towards the barrier at the entry to the swimming pool. So, Group A done then. Let's head down to Chris McCarthy and Alex Brundle as we will now wait for Group B to head out onto the circuit.
Making his way back into pit lane. ART Grand Prix, their last pole position here at Monaco with Théo Pourchaire back in 2021. They also took pole with Nick de Vries in 2019. Can they take a third pole?
Okay, Richie, so people. Okay, not bad, guys. Not bad. Not happy, but not bad.
A good result that for Richard for sure, Alex. Much needed, you know, in terms of the championship. Third for him. He lost the championship lead at Imola. We've got yet to see the likes of Alex Dunn and Luke Browning, and that's just stabilised himself within the fight.
There's a certain false sense of...
Sorry, mate, I tried my best.
False sense of security that comes with being told you're P2, when of course that could easily turn into P4 by the end of the session. Lindblad with a couple of little moments there in the session, ends up third, which will be the third row, and he'll be ruining those because he looked like he had great pace throughout that session, just attacking a tiny bit too much down towards the Nouveau chicane. And then of course when you've been off the lap before, you always just have to leave that little bit of margin the next time you come through in the braking zone, just to make sure you're nailing the lap. Costs you, and once when you lose the lap the first time around, then costs you again when you have to give a little bit of space up in the braking zone the next time through.
Let's confirm the result for you of the Group A, and this was the even-numbered cars who went out. So this is the time to beat for Group B. Victor Martins, fastest for ART Grand Prix, 121.145. Yet again, qualifying within the top three, as he has done in every session so far. He's guaranteed a front row start now. Richard Verschoor next, and Lindblad, Mini, Miney, your top five. Dirksen, Stanek, Cordil, Beganovic will be disappointed to be down there. Megatunif was next. John Bennett. So the top five were Martins, Verschoor, Lindblad, Mini. Miney will cycle back to the front row for the sprint race when we reverse the top 10. Lindblad would be feeling a little bit disappointed. He seen that over the radio, felt that there was an opportunity to go for pole, and this was one of the moments we saw for him just brushing the wall.
Off the exit curb of the second part of the swimming pool. Piero Lambesi there, just checking in.
Good to have the support from the Red Bull Racing team. He's been a part of that outfit for a while now and has had their support, and good to see that immediate support for him. They can see how well he's doing. Third place. It's a third row start for the feature race. Okay, let's turn our attention to the next group then. Alex, we've got Leo Fornaroli in this one, our reigning Formula 3 champion. Pepe Marti, teammate to Arvid Lindblad, Ollie Goethe, Luke Browning, Sebastian Montoya, who qualified very well last time out, Jack Crawford, who has been on pole this season at Jeddah, and then we've got Ratoma Miata, Alex Dunn, our championship leader, Kian Shields, Max Esterson, Rafael Villagomez. So the top two in the championship going out in that, and the driver they're all trying to beat is Victor Martins, who did a 121.145.
Now end up in this sort of only time of the year we get it in Formula 2, this sort of bizarre Olympic bobsled situation where the group who've just run now get to watch the efforts of the group who are yet to run. And the group, of course, who are yet to run, I've been watching them down in the pit lane. They wait until the last moment to get in the car. They're trying to get the maximum information about the condition of the track, watch the movements of the cars out on track in the group before you to get the best possible feel. Are they losing the rear tyre? Are they losing the front tyre? Does it look slippery down, for example, in the braking zone to the Nouvelle chicane? Is there anything I can gain that might help me in my session? That's what they've been doing down in the pit lane. For the guys in Group A, you can just relax now, can't you? And watch and try not to lose too many of your fingernails if you are out front of the session trying to watch everybody else beat your time.
Yeah, it's a strange one, isn't it? You know you're going to be on the front row if you're Victor Martins. Which side are you going to be starting on? And that is now the weight that he has to have. This is now Group B for qualifying round 5 of the FIA Formula 2 Championship, and this will decide which side of the grid Victor Martins and everyone behind him starts on. Will it be pole side or will it be the outside? And Sebastian Montoya qualified on the front row at Monaco. Can he replicate that performance and get himself another good qualifying result this time? Alex Sun, championship leader. He's been in such good form and been quick in every session. He'll be looking for a good result here.
Well, half of the Formula 2 races run in this era of F2 racing have been won from pole position in Monaco. To give you just over half, actually, to give you a sense of how important this pole position is. And it's a massive difference being on pole versus being on second place. Poleman has all the space, has all the grip, because drivers tend to hug the wall as they run down towards Santa, but of course has that critical inside line, is able to climb the curb and keep himself out of trouble. So one of the most valuable poles for the year on one of the shortest runs to turn right.
Leonardo Forlaroli, Rafael Villagomez, Max Esterson, Clan Shields, Alexander Dunn, Rito Miata, Jack Crawford, Sebastian Montoya, Jose Martel, and go to Luke Browning out there.
It was always one of the more difficult weekends, and I think if I can leave Monaco still leading the championship, then I think that'll make the rest of the season will kind of go back to normal, where Monaco's kind of a special weekend, especially for qualifying. It's kind of really all down to that one lap. And if you qualify at the front, your weekend's bound to be pretty good because of how difficult it is to overtake. But if you don't manage to maximise that lap in quali, then you're going to be in for a long weekend. So, of course, very, very happy with how the season started, but still I think there's a lot of work to be done.
Alexander Dunn there as well as the second session is underway. And Richie, this is going to be the best one. So many of the championship protagonists in this, and they've all got to go after Victor Martin's 121.145.
Indeed, and it will certainly be an exciting second session, as here we see Leonardo Fornaroli. Been a bit of a mixed start here to the Formula 2 season. Some were expecting more, some were expecting less here from Fornaroli. So I suppose we'll got to see what he can do here in this qualifying session. Heading into the final corner, Anthony knows, and going again down towards turn 1. Of course, these first laps aren't normally your typical qualifying push laps. It's just getting the car, getting the driver all into things and being a little bit more suited to the conditions. Of course, we expect the lap times to possibly be a little quicker in this session because there'll be a bit more rubber on the track, and also, well, I don't know if the conditions have changed, but I'm sure they could have done in the space of 40 minutes.
Air temperature's changed down a couple of degree cooler. It's now 21.5, it was 23. Track temperature's still at 40 degrees, so that hasn't changed much. We'll see if that continues to adjust as the session goes on. Let's have another one.
It's always been special for me. It was my best qualifying my first year of Formula 3. Last year we had a pretty special lap in the wet that I think was a second quicker, so emulate that again without the wetness, hopefully. And yeah, it's just escaped that top spot for me so far. So I'd love to win here. We were so close to that pole position lap. I think last year, had I have just stopped on the track instead of going into the pits, I would have been on pole. So that's life. But this year I want it. Formula 2 is the opportunity for me to make a statement in Monaco, and yeah, being where we are, I'd love to do that.
Luke Browning there, talking about what he would love to do with the pole position here at Monte Carlo. Anything's an option as the field runs out. It's quite hard to tell. Go on.
I was going to say, I'm kind of glad that Dunn and Browning are having such a good season, because I think both of them, for many reasons. Both deserve it. I mean, Alexander Dunn, he's coming to the season, of course, very aggressive. Oh, that's a trap.
Oh no, red flag!
Somewhere.
I knew there was damage down at the into the wall.
Oh.
Into the wall goes Rafael Villagomez, and that was caused by a side-by-side, I believe, with Alexander Dunn, who's just at 138.042. There was a side-by-side maneuver coming in, to the back of Anthony Leggs at the exit Raskas, and I thought, did they make contact? It looks like they've shoved each other into the wall, so red flag's out. Go on.
I wasn't sure, because from the way I saw it, it looked like Villagomez was aiming for the pits, and Alex Dunn was trying to go for the lap, and, well, we thought it was all sorted out, but never mind. One of them is, unfortunately, into the barriers, and it will be Rafael Villagomez. Big, big shame indeed, and there is one of the culprits involved, Alexander Dunn, who's not had an incident-free season, has he, Josh? I think it's safe to say.
He's been here, there, and everywhere, as he is our repeat winner. And I'd like to see what's going on then. Here's a replay. So Alexander Dunn comes to the inside line. So Villagomez got the inside. Dunn's going to go for a lap. He's going to barge his way through. And that's going to force, there it is, Villagomez into the wall. That's going to be Alexander Dunn, surely, with a penalty.
Yeah, that's going to be a hefty penalty. But then again, I'm not sure what's Villagomez trying to do.
This guy, I swear, he just pushed me into the wall.
I don't know what he was trying
Monaco,
to do.
isn't it, Josh? It's just classic miscommunication. I think Villagomez didn't know what Dunn wanted to do, and Dunn didn't know what Villagomez wanted to do. It'd be great to see the onboard of Alexander Dunn, because I'd like to see, was Villagomez heading for the pits, or was he going for a lap? Because if he was in a bit of a weird position to start a lap, wasn't he? As Marshall straight at work.
We haven't got the onboard camera for Alexander Dunn this weekend. It's on his teammate, Emil Cordial. Oh, just one per team in F2.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was double checking to see if we had it, and we don't, because on the preview guide they give us, that Omi gives us F2. Forloroni's gotten on board, so is Marty, Goethe, Browning, Montoya, Crawford, Victor Martins.
Incident.
What is this guy doing? This is insane. He just completely turned in like I wasn't there.
Okay, yeah, he did that, but then Alexander did sort of go straight into the chicane. It's under investigation by the stewards, though.
Indeed, and the weird thing is, as well, Dunn taking that line into that final corner anyway, that would have just harmed his first run either way, because it was such a tight angle in. And to be fair, he would have been looking to make it for himself, because it looks like even he would have struggled to kind of get the car turned in at a decent speed. But yeah, I mean, I'm not. If it was around a different track, for example, I don't know, Barcelona or Silverstone, I'd probably have a little bit more blame on Dunn for that. But with it being Monaco, it's one of those, isn't it? It happens every year. If it's not Dunn, it would have been somebody else who got involved in something.
Sadly, that's the way this track sort of goes these days, isn't it? As the red flag comes out. Just having a quick look to see where Fast Friday is going to start. Oh, wait a minute. No, I need carb day. No, here we go. 11 a.m. Eastern. Yeah, 4 o'clock. That's it. And then the pit stop challenge will also be on. A lot to do. Let's take another look at it. So this is Alexander Dunn, who's gone to the inside line of Rafael Villagomez down at the Nouvelle chicane and gets blocked there as well.
Buonarroli.
Yeah, just ahead. And so this little battle continues into the chicane. Then does, as you say, it just sends up the inside.
See,
yeah, Richie, you're right.
Yeah, I think Dunn's done to blame. But look how harshly Villagomez comes over to the right-hand side. Very harsh. So was it an attempt to block Dunn maybe from going through? Because if Dunn did get through, it would have blocked his line down to turn 1. He would have, been right close to the car ahead. So odd one. I think Dunn will get a penalty. I'd assume so. It'll be quite a harsh one, I'd reckon, as well. But got to see what happens. It depends what the stewards have to say, what the team have to say as well. They're going to have a bit of evidence that we can't see on a broadcast. But enough of that for now. We need to put that to the back of his mind. He's taken 1 out of the session. He's just got to try and take the fastest lap now.
Plugs put it in the chat already, but this is fresh in from the FIA from Lance Stroll. Breach of Appendix L, Chapter 4, Article 2D of the International Sporting Code. Drop of 1 grid position to the next race in which the driver participates and 1 penalty point. Reason, because it was well, he was at fault for the collision between him and Charles Leclerc in practice.
Ah. So he's going to start 21st then?
Well, just one, but yeah. But he's qualified last anyway, won't he? But yeah, he'll get 1 place dropped on his grid position.
I mean, to be fair, that's a new thing, because I swear, I'm trying to think of things that have happened in practice. I think it was Saudi Arabia 2021 between Mazepin and Hamilton never got a penalty for that. So is it a new thing they're doing in practice to kind of say it's not an excuse just because it's practice to move over? I'm not saying, obviously, I think everybody knows Stroll didn't think, oh, Leclerc's behind, let's move over and block him and you know, make him crash into me. That wasn't the goal, but it's a lack of awareness as, oh, that was close there. Done again! Up the inside of the Nouvelle chicane.
Maddie Patterson, I swear to God, I'm going to get you back for that one. I put to her yesterday, bike racing is your home and family, plus we all couldn't go on without the Queen, and she put, well, you could, it would just be boring AF. Someone has to turn up and smile. Thanks, Maddie. Love you too. I'll get a bat for that.
Throwing the shade at us already.
Nah, it would be boring without Maddie in the bike world. She makes it more fun.
So yeah, I've never been in the commentary box with Maddie yet, so I'm very excited for that day to ever happen. I'll have to get into motorbike racing for that, won't I?
Anything can happen.
And then probably get told off by her when I end up not knowing anything about motorbikes and saying the wrong thing, because that was done again there, making it sound this time on... Is that Shields? I think it is, isn't it?
Yes, Clan Shields. I'm almost making contact with him.
Naughty.
Alexander
Dunn. The thing is as well, Alexander
Dunn
Dunn reminds me of one person, and I'm sure you'll know who I'm on about. Have a guess first. In Formula 1.
Carlos Sainz?
No, Max Verstappen.
Oh, right,
Firstly,
okay, yeah.
very aggressive. Secondly, isn't scared to say what he thinks. And thirdly, he's very quick.
He is quick.
He's basically Max Verstappen, the Irish version.
Leonardo Folorelli, however, is definitely the man on the mission coming into this weekend. He's was the championship leader going into the last time out. Now it's changed over to Alexander Dunn, who's now leading as a rookie. 2 feature race wins, 64 points to his name. Luke Browning's on 58, Richard Bashaw on 55, and Leonardo Folorelli 52 after a shocking weekend at Imola just 7 days ago. Now fastest first and second sector.
Indeed, and looking good so far here for Fornaroli. Of course, nowhere near the pace that we saw in the last session, but they're just trying to build things up, build a nice banker here to run off for the remainder of the session. Let's see what can Leonardo Fornaroli do here as he heads to the line. It'll be a 23.782, a little bit quicker there, well, a lot quicker there than Dunn, and we'll see what Alex Dunn can do as he heads his way to the line. Also a very slow banker, Esterson as well, setting his first banker of the session, and then the next across the line will be Sebastian Montoya, who I'm hoping can get a bit of luck here this season, because I feel like he's got the pace, but he's had a bit of unluckiness in that Prema.
Was riding the curb, exit Anthony Noakes over the line. Montoya, provisional pole, 123.680. It's nowhere near the 121.145, but in this session, it's front row of the grid territory, and this was Fornaroli nearly in the wall with the rear left.
Well, that's... as Sky say, what is it, super close?
Yeah.
Whichever one it's given for that one. It looks like it was like, what, 2 or 3 centimetres?
Closer than Russell got this morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really close.
I say this morning, this afternoon, everything's on a bit of a time shift here in Monaco because there's not much on-track action because F2 and F3 had their practice yesterday.
And here's Dunn. Quickest in Sector 1, 22.091. I think that's a little bit off what we saw from Arvid Lindblad in the past session, but still we're looking there to build into some more competitive laps. Never mind, he's gone very slow in Sector 2, and we'll be looking to push again on, I presume, on the next lap. And the funny thing was, last session, by the time we hit this 7-minute mark, we had laps on the board for everyone that were competitive, and this time around we haven't, as he has done again. Ooh, right, that was close to, I believe, Esterson, isn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't get out of the way.
Oh, he was on a lap.
Frustration.
Ooh.
Yeah, so the 23
Oh, no.
of Esterson blocking Alexander Dunn, and Dunn getting very much fed up with everything.
Getting it done.
He's on a lap time now, though. Up to turn 1 and Sanderbot, flicks the car in to the right. Uphill we go. Wonderful sponsorship for the McLaren livery for the Rodin Motorsports squad. Rodin and McLaren very much tied together. Alexander Dunn here in Formula 2. And even if you look down in Formula 4, the British F4, Ella Lloyd is their representative, even in F1 Academy. She runs the McLaren livery there. 6.5 tenths, nearly 7 up. That's amazing from Dunn as he comes into the hairpin at Fairmont.
Decent sector there. Sector 1 at 22.0, a little bit off what we saw in last session, but certainly building his way nicely. He's got to do it though in Sector 2 and Sector 3. I believe it was a 38 flat we saw in the last session for Victor Martins. So we'll have to see what can Alexander Dunn do. Of course, Nouvel Chicane awaits him first, hopping the curb slightly, back on the post straight away into back where we go with Leonardo Funaroli, who's up by a second over Montoya. Nearly hits the barriers as he makes his way through, and that's a 38.3. But Alexander Dunn there, Josh, has done a 38.0, which I believe is quicker than what we saw from Victor Martins. So this already is looking to take it away with 5 minutes to go.
So it's Martin's time was a 1:21.145. Over the line comes Alexander Dunn. In a second, Funaroli 1:22.1, 1:21.781. Alexander Dunn is just 6 tenths away from that pole position time that Montoya set, but they are getting closer and closer. Browning's down on time. Track temperature's now dropped to 39 degrees, so it is getting cooler out there as the day goes on. Crawford goes third, Miata fourth as they come through, but no one touching Martin's time of 1:21.1.
Indeed, and a nice lap there from Sebastian Montoya, 21.8. Browning into third place there at 21.9 or 22.008, and then Ollie Goethe to the line. It will be a 22.7 there, so he goes down to P6 here as he continues on and goes for another run. Pepe Marti up into P5 there, still not on the most representative laps here. So we'll have to see who's heading through that first sector on a competitive run, as here into turn 1 is Ollie Goethe, and certainly not the most ideal line into turn 1, is it, Josh?
Yeah, the computer got it wrong. It was Montoya who comes through in the Prema. So just
Montoya.
Locked up on the inside line. Just a quick look then at the combined times that we have at the moment. Victor Martins on pole, 1:21.145. Alexander Dunn is second. Richard Vachol third. Sebastian Montoya fourth. Arvin Lindblad would be fifth. Luke Browning sixth. Leonardo Funaroli in seventh. Gabriel Mini 8th, Jose Maria Martin 9th, Kushmini in 10th, Jack Crawford 11th, Joshua Durtskin is 12th, Roman Stanek 13th, Ollie Goethe 14th, Rita Miata 15th, Emil Cordillo 16th, Dino Boganovic 17th, Max Esterson 18th, Clan Shields 19th, Sami Megatunov in 20th, John Bennett 21st, and Rafael Villagomez 22nd. That's the combined times as they stand for both sessions as we go.
Indeed, and Leonardo Funaroli, a 21.9, I believe, in that first sector, as it's still trying to catch up on the TV pictures. There we go. And then let's see as well what Alexander Dunn can do as well. It will be a 21.9 as well. So these two are looking to be the ones that are fighting for that top spot. And Dunn's sector 1, I think, is quicker than what we saw from Victor Martins in the last session. I think it was a 22.2 for Martins, and then of course found a lot of time in the second and third sector. Funaroli also matching that in the first, and I believe he'll be the first one here out of these two to cross the line. A big lock up into the chicane, and that's Funaroli's lap done, but at least he has a chance to go again, maybe once or possibly twice here.
Problem is, Alexander Dunn's directly behind him, coming down towards the back. Funaroli can't get in the way, otherwise he'll get a penalty from the stewards, but he's closing quick, he's out of the way, very respectfully done, and Dunn is 3 tenths up at the moment. It's a 37.8 middle sector for Alexander. This is looking feisty. Into the last corner, run up the line now. Curved start line here in Monte Carlo. Control into the timing line. The closest is to stay dead centre, and he's up to 1:21.437. It's still not faster than Victor Martins' 1:21.145.
No, got a lot of time to find there, has Alexander Dunn, and it looks like a really, really competitive lap. And let's see what Crawford can do. Miata up into P5. Jack Crawford goes up into P3. Browning's around half a second down. Sebastian Montoya with a poor middle sector to the line stays in P2, taking the fastest third sector. And let's see what can Luke Browning do as he heads out the final corner in his high-tech. There we can see a 21.5, I believe, Josh. That was, I think, 2 tenths quicker than what we saw from Alexander Dunn there.
Amazing first sector time coming through. Had the fastest first sector of anybody, but couldn't do anything with it.
No, and it just shows maybe Martins was slower in that first sector on purpose to have a bit more tyre left to go for sector 2 and 3, as that's Montoya into turn 1. A bit of a lock-up.
Locking up in turn 1!
Yeah. He's done it again. He did it before and he's done it again. That's twice, 2 laps running now that Montoya's locked up. And that's Arvid Lindblad. No, that's supposed to be Marty locking up. It's a 3 coming through.
Yes. Pepe Marty.
Yeah.
They got mixed up again. They got the wrong number.
It keeps saying Ollie Goethe, yeah.
And this is 4 in a row that went down in towards the Nouvelle chicane, and Ruben T's attempt at a flying run, which would have still been, I think, on par with the lap of Alexander Dunn. Everyone has set yellow first sector, so they're all preparing to go, I believe, once more in this qualifying session. Here's Pepe Marti, big lock up into turn 1, and it's just better to go to the escape road and not to end up in the barriers and cause a red flag.
A lot of traction on those bricks actually as well, which is bad. Same bricks actually that's in Vatican City, if anybody wanted to know.
Is it?
Yeah.
How did you know that? It's a bit of a weird fact.
Local knowledge.
So are you a Monaco local then, Josh, or do you just like to say it?
No, I've had people who've gone to both and have asked questions. Oh, Dunn's locked up coming into Millerbow. That won't cost him too much time, but yeah, it's not great down to lows. The car's unsteadied. Yeah, I had people who went to Monaco, family friends of ours, and then they also went to Vatican City, and they said they're the same bricks we asked. And yeah, they're the same bricks when the renovation was done that were used in Monaco.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. A fun fact to use when I'm doing my general knowledge quizzes in the pub. I'm sure that question will come up a couple of times. Let's see what Dunn can do here in that second sector. So, of course, we saw a lock-up, but that was after the sector 1 came through. So we'll see what it did in sector 2, and he's up by a 10.5 here. This, Josh, could be close. Within a 10th at the moment, I think, at the time of Victor Martin.
Yeah, if he can just nail the final sector, he's got no cars ahead of him. He's good through Raskas into Anthony Noakes. This is going to be a mighty close lap. It's a 1:21.145. The time he's got to beat over the line for Alexander Dunn, and it's a 1:21.142. He's done it by 6,000ths of a second. Alexander Dunn has pole position for the Monaco feature race by 6,000ths to Victor Martins.
That is insane there by Alexander Dunn. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant indeed. I don't think anyone's going to take that away. Crawford nearly hit the barriers. That's Montoya.
And he has hit the barrier, and he's gone backwards down to the chicane. That's going to spoil everybody's lap time. His engine's off, and that will be a red flag to confirm everybody's starting positions. Alexander Dunn's on pole. Victor Martins will be second, and then it'll be odd and even grid slots for the rest of them backwards. Victor Martins, not exactly happy, but he's been beaten by 6,000ths of a second by the championship leader. Wow!
How did he manage to do that? Has he hopped the chicane and lost the rear?
Come on, tell me we got it, please. Currently by 3,000. Yes! Let's go.
Yeah.
Josh, I hate to say, I don't think that'll stay, unfortunately.
Yellow flag, do you think?
No, because of the,
the penalty,
incident.
Yeah.
Oh, he's surely got to get a penalty for that.
That's true, actually. The computer's readjusted itself to confirm Victor Martins' time final was a 1:21.145. Alexander Dunn 1:21.142. Correction on the screen now with the together. It is 3,000ths of a second to have pole position. 3,000ths. One of our closest poles in F2 history.
Yeah, that is insane. Absolutely insane. And hopefully we can see what happened to Montoya, because when you look over on the UBS barrier there where the yellow flag's being waved, that looks like someone's hit into it there. So as Montoya hit the barrier and bounced him off onto the other side of the track, I'm not quite sure then. An odd one to crash like that at the bottom of the swimming pool chicane, but I think Montoya's car, it didn't look like it was sticking to the track very well, did it?
Yeah.
And if it did, it stuck to the track a bit too much with the lockup.
Thinking in my mind's eye, I think he's turned in, the rear's got loose, he's spun backwards, brushed the barrier, and then looped it back towards where he's finished. So I think he's turned to the left, hit the curb, and he's bounced round. If I'm right, I think he's looped it, brushed the barrier, then sort of just drifted back. Let's have a look on entry. Exactly what I thought. Yeah.
And look through. If you looked at the whole clip, every time he had to turn the wheel, the car was sliding around. That primary is not set up well around this circuit, I don't think, at all. Every time we've been on board with him, the car's been sliding. It's been locking up. And it's not like he's been making mistakes either, because he's doing the same thing as everybody else, and unfortunately, it's just not going Montoya's way. And I mean, he did set for a decent lap, didn't he, at the first part of the session, as there we can see, over the curb. And I mean, he barely touched the curb there. It was a very weird one. Very weird indeed.
You're right with what you said. Now, did that yellow have hamper blue Browning? He's gone fifth fastest. What's he up to?
Is this into turn 1? No.
Oh,
they're trying to see if there was a yellow flag before they crossed the line.
I think, yeah, and he was punching his he was punching the halo, wasn't he? So he's not happy.
Or he
I'm
just
doing
wasn't
this
happy with the lap.
But is that going to stand with that penalty that could come? Because he did force Villagomez into the wall.
Yeah. If he was on a flying lap and Villagomez wasn't, then they could write it off as the driver, you know, starting a lap, wasn't being aware. But none of them were on a lap, so it's just over-aggressiveness, which, of course, Dunn's young. He is an aggressive driver, but still, it's not an excuse. I do want him to do well, but he's got to iron out just being aggressive, because he's not the only one on track. There's many others, so it's one thing he's got to iron out over the season before it bites him in the backside, like it probably will this evening or tomorrow morning.
Well, while we wait then to get final thoughts from Richie, let's head down to the world feed at the end of this session.
And he delivers with pole position.
This was all part of the plan, you know. I just saved putting the lap together for Monaco.
They can't let me know the plan's well, though.
Yeah, but that's what keeps you on your toes. I got to keep you working, you know.
Well,
Keep them guessing. Keep them guessing. There's nothing race teams love more than guessing. Said no one, ever. Alex Dunn.
That's brilliant. Well, and that's the difference. It was the elevation from Rodin, and apologies for what you may have heard. I think they got a little bit excited. Didn't quite hear that we were recording, but you could hear the pure excitement from Rodin Motorsport, and then the difference in the pure heartbreak for the French team, ART Grand Prix. But that is why we love the sport, and that is the difference of 3 thousandths of a second, Alex.
You've got to say, a fair fight at the front there between the two groups, especially with the difficulty in tyre preparation, the red flag earlier on in the session, come back and deliver the time. Still that investigation, though, hovering over proceedings, so keep your eyes across the socials for that one.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, and one of them involves Alex Dunn, but let's go through the result as we see it for now, and it is Alex Dunn takes the Aramco pole position at Monaco, 3 thousandths of a second faster than Victor Martins in the other group. 121.142, then Fornaroli, Montoya, Crawford, Browning, Miata, Goethe, Marty, Esterson, Shields, Villagomez. Browning will be on the front row for the sprint race tomorrow, goes through to the top. Kush Miney will be alongside him on the front row, so it's going to be Dunn and Martins, Fornaroli and Bishaw, and then it will be Montoya and Lindblad, and then Crawford and Mini, and then we'll have Browning and Miney. Great qualifying session, Alex. It had everything to it. It was a proper Monaco qualifying session, if I can say.
It really was. It really was. Big gambles at the end. Did it pay off? Did it not? That was the nature of the beast for the drivers out there. And that's it, isn't it? All about qualifying here at Monaco. But, you know, we have seen these drivers, we have seen these races be so strategic and exciting. So can't wait to see us go racing through the next couple of days.
Join us at 2:15 tomorrow, local time.
Well, Richie, what's your final thoughts on this session?
Interesting, to say the least. Of course, we've seen a lot of lockups, a lot of people making mistakes, a couple of collisions as well. Going into the races, certainly going to be about consistency rather than pure speed, but I'm interested to see what Dunn and Martins can do from the front row on Sunday.
Cheers, Richie. Thanks to all of you at home. We'll be back for all the action. Next up, it's FP2. See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.